Hello and welcome to my creative castle. I know it's Wednesday and usually we craft and we hang out together and we're whipping it and we're doing some Whip Wednesday. But oh no, we gotta interrupt your regularly scheduled program because it's sock week here in the crafting verse. That's right, I've already made a couple of videos on Sock Week. And by the way, if you want more info on Sock Week, I've already talked about it twice, right? Sock Week is July 20th, 2025. It's an 8-day challenge through Sunday, July 27th. 8 days to knit or crochet one sock in fingering weight yarn, adult sock. If you want more info on it, it's Nitty Natty, I believe, who's doing the whole sock week thing. And I have to admit, I think I missed her whole kickoff video. I've missed some of the details. I'm not entering any of the contests formally, okay, but there are ways to enter into this challenge officially, by the way, and you can win prizes. You get one entry per sock that you get done within that 8 days on your fingering weight yarn. You have to start it and finish it in that 8 days. And of course, if you are getting your yarn from one of the participating stores, you get 2 entries. But you know what? As much as I wanted an excuse to buy more yarn, I was like, oh no. We already saw my first sock week video where I had 3 sock yarns in the house, 3 fingering weight yarns that I'd never even worked with before. And I thought, no, can't do it. So, and if you saw those videos, right, you know that I really make the majority of my socks with Stroll. I love Stroll. It's my favorite sock yarn. It's from Knit Picks We Crochet. It is 75% superwash merino wool, 25% nylon. Super, super soft. Have you knit or crocheted with Stroll before? It's luscious. And so, yeah, I was like, you can't do it. You got to try something different. So I chose, this is the Hawthorne fingering in the color Klamath Falls. And it is described to me as it's a tonal. And it is like a blend of indigo blues, delft blues, navy blues. It's very pretty. I really, really like it. We wound it together. We looked at it together. I'm not totally sure how else to describe it. And if you're a returning viewer, you know why. And thank you for your patience while I briefly introduce myself to anybody who might be new to my channel, who just stumbled on this video. Hi, my name's May. I love yarn. I love to knit and crochet. Those are my hobbies. And I also happen to have been born visually impaired, legally blind, completely color blind. So yeah, I'm not totally sure what the colors are, but thankfully Knit Picks and We Crochet have great color descriptions on their website. So, anyways, let me know if you are participating in Sock Week, right? Say hello in the comment section. Let me know, are you knitting or are you crocheting? Or are you like, oh no, I'm opting out of Sock Week? Right? Because, I mean, really, socks can be super intimidating. Fingering weight, right? If you're a crocheter, you're like, fingering weight. That's pretty intimidating, right? Because you got to use those, 2.5 millimeter hooks, 3 millimeter hooks. Yeah, that's intimidating. And if you're knitting, it takes longer. Fingering weight takes longer on those 2.25s. That's what I did, right? 2.25 millimeter needles. So anyways, if you saw, I'm not going to totally recap Sock Week of day 1 for me. But let's just say I'm on cast on number 5. Yeah, it took me 5 tries to get the cast on right, okay? But I did it. And not only that, but I already have 1 sock done. Now, of course, I'm really going to try hard to get it a mate, right? We don't want no single socks around here. Our socks need mates. But because I added on to the second challenge to myself was you can't use Stroll. You got to use a yarn you've never used before. For some reason, I thought that was going to be a great idea for me to do during Sock Week without even testing it out. Now, I realize a lot of people do gauge swatches. I tend to not do gauge swatches because I don't have enough sight to count my stitches. And fingering wet yarn is kind of challenging, right? So, but for some reason, I thought, oh, it'd be cheating if I did like a practice cast on, right? And got an idea of how many stitches I needed. And my usual sock pattern is pretty much in my head that I do with stroll, right? I cast on, I start with my 16 stitches on each needle, I increase to 32 on each needle, end up with 64 around. I got the heel up in my head. I am not good at short rows. I'm not good at doing the flap and picking up stitches because if you're a returning viewer, you know I struggled with that ruffled baby dress that I did where I had to pick up and knit stitches. And I did it, but that wasn't a DK weight yarn, but I definitely, I missed stitches. I got stitches in the wrong place. It's challenging for me on anything much smaller than a worsted weight yarn. And so I don't like doing socks where you have a heel flap and then you have to go and pick up those stitches. So I just do an increase, right? I make my gusset. You can see it right there. It's got your little triangle. If you're new to sock knitting, you have to create the angle, right? You start either at the top or the bottom of your sock, right? Either at the cuff or the toe. And you're making like kind of just like a tube, right? But then you get to this thing called an ankle, right? And you gotta make like a 90-degree turn with your sock. Yeah. And so to do that, you make like this little triangle in here. I hope you can see it. There's like a little triangle in there where you have to increase your stitches. And so that's your heel gusset, and you increase and you increase and you increase. And then you gotta take stitches out and decrease and decrease and decrease. Okay, so that is by far for the majority of people the most challenging part of knitting socks. And yes, it fits. In fact, it is too big, but that's okay. We're still gonna make the second one to match, right? It's bigger than I wanted, but so I have this pattern in my head that I do with 64 stitches. I got the whole heel memorized, no flap, no short rows, no pick up and knit. My favorite heel is my, like go-to tried and true, got it down in my head, blah, blah, blah. Well, when I had to change up this sock, this yarn, this hawthorn fingering, right? A hawthorn fingering, it is a fingering wet yarn. It is, but it's definitely thicker than stroll. So as I found out on Sunday, the 64 stitches was way, way, way too big on me on the 2.25 needles. So I ended up having to drop it all the way down to 56 stitches around, 28 stitches per needle, which meant I started out with 14 on each needle, then 14 increased to 28 on each needle. Okay, that's good. I wanted to do this rib right here, so it's a multiple of 4, right? So I had to do 28. I mean, 26, well, wasn't really going to work out for me. 24, I was like, that'll be 48 stitches around. That might be a little small for me. So I ended up with a sock that's a little bit too big, but I think it's going to be okay. But what that meant is when I went from 64 stitches to 56, that meant my stitch count on each needle went from 32 to 28. Yeah. I had to redo my math. I had to recalculate my gusset. I had to recalculate my increases. And I had to recalculate turning the heel. Yeah, took some mathing. We had to stop and pause in the middle of sock week to rewrite my pattern. Yeah. So I added that whole challenge to myself. For some reason, I'm like, oh, it's sock week. You need to use a yarn you've never used before. You need to not practice. Oh no, now you have a pattern that you can't use that you have memorized. Oh no, now you have to rewrite your pattern and recalculate it. Yeah, that was a great idea, May. Yeah, maybe next year if I do sock week, I'll try working with, stroll, or at least I'll have experience with hawthorn fingering. Now I know, right? I got lots more colors in hawthorn fingering, so I could redo the same sock. Yeah, and in a different color. Or I could try another pattern. Lots of options for next year. I'm just happy I got it done. But yes, I did have to stop and pause. I did have to cast on 5 times. I did have to recalculate. I did have to redo my heel, redo the math. I got it a little bit wrong, right? It's a little bit too big for my foot. I should have probably done about 2 less rounds, probably 2 to 4 less rounds on the foot before I started my increases, right? Before I started my increases for the gusset, because right now the back of my heel is really kind of up here and it should be down a little bit more. So, not gonna lie to y'all, my mathin' wasn't perfect, okay? I was working on the fly, as usual, right? If you're a returning viewer, you know I work on the fly. I design as we go, right? We make it up as we go. Yeah, so that's how Sock Week is going for me. I think we are going to get a mate for our sock. Will we do it this week? I don't know. Will we start it tonight? I don't know. Probably not, but we'll see what happens, right? So, anyways, I did want to tell you too, I had my 3rd cast on. I was on my 3rd cast on, right? Everything was going good, but I did have a little bit of a blind moment. And I know the blind people, the blind community, they always like to remind me, you're not blind, May. And they're right. I'm not totally blind, but I am legally blind, and I'm too blind to drive. And I definitely have blind moments, and I absolutely had one during Sock Week. Okay, I did. I was working, right? I'm working on 2 circs, right? And when you're working on 2 circs in the middle of a row, now I know better than to really put my project down in the middle of a row. And socks, it was 28 stitches, right? Was there anything urgent that I couldn't have finished 28 stitches? But I don't even remember what it was. I don't know if it was notification on my phone. I don't know if it was an itch. I don't know what. But I was in the middle of a row and I stopped what I was doing to do something, and I went back to grab my project. But I can't see the cable. There's the cable that connects the 2 needles. I can't see my cable out in front of me, and went to grab my needle, stuck my hand through the cable, realized it in the wrong place, pulled it out. Yeah, these are the Reflections needles from Knit Picks. Super, super slick. Yanked my needle out of my sock. Y'all, the toe was done. I was on like round 12 of the sock after the toe. And I had a little blind moment mishap. Yanked that needle out. Didn't see the cable at all. Got my hand in the wrong place. And I don't have enough sight. And it's really hard for me to do with fingering weight yarn to thread that needle back on those live stitches. So you know it. Yeah, we had to rip it, frog it out, and start over. Yeah, that was the end of cast on number 3. Yeah, cast on number 4. Well, to be honest with you, I should have just taken a pause, right? I should have just set it down and be like, no, we need another timeout. Well, and I did mention, okay, Sock Week video 1 on Sunday. I did say already that the Hawthorne was too big. I already broke a needle. I'm not going to recap it all, but I actually said I'm going to put us in like a timeout, try to reevaluate, try to determine, should I go back and work with some of my stroll, right? And I thought I'd share these with you guys because it's so cool. It's so cool. I went digging in Yarn Mountain looking for some stroll, and I actually have a lot of stroll. So why I didn't just go back to stroll, do my 64 stitches, do my heel that I know, I don't know. But I found some really cool stroll tonal in some discontinued colorways, and I thought y'all might want to see it. If you're like a yarn nerd like me, right? If you're into socks and you're into yarn, right? So check this out. Look at this. This is some stroll tonal. This is a discontinued colorway. It's called Canopy, I believe. I believe it's called Canopy. Look at that. It's shades of green, and because it's a discontinued color, Knit Picks and We Crochet, they do have really good color descriptions on their website, but my one complaint with them is that when a colorway becomes discontinued, they completely remove it from the internet. And so people like me who are colorblind can't find the description of their yarn anywhere, okay? Anywhere. But the canopy is a hint, right? It's a clue. We're talking about canopies of trees and branches. Yeah, we are. So it is greens. It is a tonal. It's just a variety of shades of greens. It is so gorgeous. It is so fun. And these are really big hanks. I think you can still find a few colors in Stroll Tonal. I think it's under like Stroll Hand Paints or Stroll Effects or something like that. But they used to have a better line, in my opinion, of just Stroll Tonals. That they've discontinued a lot of them and then sort of merged the few that they have left. I think it's called Stroll Effects or Stroll Hand Paints or something. But I'll be honest with you, I like the old colorways better than a lot of the new ones, okay? But these hanks, they're over, I don't remember the exact yardage, but they're over 450 yards. So I got two here. So I got over 900 yards. And so when I thought about that, even though I did think about using these for socks, right? I like 900 yards. Do I really want to break that up for socks? I mean, really? Okay, because this is my sock that I did. I'm holding it up if you're blind or visually impaired in the Klamath, the one that I just did in the blue. And the Klamath is under 400 yards. I don't remember the exact yardage. I think it's 350 something. I still have a pretty substantial ball here left. I'm super hoping that I can get both socks out of one thing of yarn. I'll be so thrilled if I can get both socks out of one. Now, obviously, I got a whole thing of it right here. I'm not going to run out anytime soon, right? But I would still be ecstatic if I could get both socks done with one hank of yarn. And so looking at that, I've already lost my yarn. Okay. So looking at that, like I did not want to break up this like 900 yards of this gorgeous yarn to, pull out like less than 400, like 350 or something, 360 for a pair of socks, right? I mean, these are discontinued colors. And I found another discontinued colorway too. Okay, look at these. Look at this. Yeah. Look at this. And this one is called, what is this one called? I believe it's called Deep Waters. Another discontinued colorway. Deep Waters, right? That's a clue to the colorblind, right? We're looking at, I'm sure it's some blues. I'm sure that it's got blues or some kind of shades of blues or maybe blue, slightly green. I'm not sure if there's any green in this or not. I always think of water, like deep waters, as oceans. And I think blue, but apparently some places it's kind of an emerald greenish too. So I don't actually know, but I just assume oceans are blue. Okay, I do. So I'm assuming that this is shades of blues, and it is beautiful. Another tonal. Same thing. I got two hanks of it, over 900 yards. And so both of these are just gorgeous. They're fun. They're the Stroll. They're the super, super soft, super wash merino. And so I really don't want to break these up, even though my intention when I bought them was socks. Okay, I got sock patterns stashed away in the bags with them. That was what I was thinking. And when I bought it, guess what? I'm not. These sock patterns can, all fun. There's lots of other yarn in this house to work up these sock patterns in. So I think with like 900 yards of a discontinued colorway, I don't think we're going to break it up for socks. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I got no idea what I'm going to do with it yet. But I don't think it's going to be socks. I feel like it needs to be like a beautiful shawl or a shrug or, I don't know, like a top. I don't know. I am not sure yet. But I'm not like, these are beautiful, beautiful discontinued colorways. You can't get them anymore, right? So I'm feeling like I should do something special with them. So let me know your thoughts, right, on these colorways. Do you think I'm making a mistake by not using them for socks? What do you think I should do with them? Like, what do you see with this? I'm seeing like shawls or tops or skirts or shrugs or another garment that is not socks. I'm seeing something. I always like to think that with my discontinued yarns and my discontinued clothes, I'm like, oh, it's got to be something special because it's the only thing you can make with it, right? So, yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let me know how your sock week's going. Let me know what you would do if you were me, right? Like, would you have just gone back and worked in stroll? Because I got a lot of stroll in this house. Or would you have just like done the math like me, recalculated your sock, not got it perfect, right? But nonetheless, it's a sock. It's a sock. Yeah, and I pounded that baby out in 2 days. By the time I got onto my 5th cast on, yeah, it was probably sometime Sunday night. So got it done by Tuesday night tonight, because you know I usually do like to record my Wednesday video on Tuesday night. So here I am on Tuesday night getting ready to upload this for a sock week check-in for you all on Wednesday. Would you have done what I did? Would you have gone back to stroll? Would you have worked with the new yarn? Would you have been like, yeah, but I would have gauge swatched, I would have practiced, right? I don't know what I was thinking. I have no idea why I thought I couldn't even practice with the yarn until the day sock week started. I don't know. Just trying so hard to follow the rules. But anyways, I'm happy with it overall, right? I feel like I did my math pretty good on the heel. I think it's pretty even. It's probably not quite as deep or narrow of a heel as some people like, but look, no big holes even. Like, no big holes even in the heel, right? Because that can be a real issue when you get that little triangle there. When you go back to reconnect your heel to the round, to start working in the round again, you get the gaps, right? The holes. Yeah, I did pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty impressed how well I did that. So anyways, let me know. And if you're not doing sock week, totally okay. You can be a spectator. And hey, maybe you'll join us next year, right? Okay. And if you are doing sock week, did you add other bizarre rules to yours like I did? Like, you can't use your favorite sock yarn that you know. Did you do that to yourself? Did you think that for some reason you had to make the challenge of sock week even more challenging? Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I often have that. Like, mid-project, I'm like, what was I thinking? Right? You hear me say that a lot about myself. What was I thinking? Yeah, I definitely was having that moment on Sunday. What was I thinking? Yeah. So anyways, that's how sock week's going for me. Will I start tomorrow? Will I start tonight? I don't know. I kind of feel like I need to take a little bit of a break because I've been working pretty hard on this sock. Okay, I'm going to be real with you. Yeah. So I think that's the end of the video. You know what I'm going to do though? You know what I like to do at the end? I think I got my math pretty close. My math might be slightly off on the heel. But I am going to make the second sock. I'm going to do my very best to make the second sock match, right? Even though it's a little bit big for me, even though my math might be slightly off, we're going to do our very best to make the heels match. Okay, I might even try to write out this pattern sometime or share it with y'all. Y'all want to hear more about it when I get the other one done or in process? I don't know. Anyways, I think I will go ahead, put the camera on pause, take you off the tripod, turn on the light so you can see the beautiful colors in this clamor, and so you can take a look at this heel. Love it. No short rows, no picking up stitches on the side of a heel flap and fingering weight yarn. Yeah, genius. Okay, alrighty, my friends. Well, you know what I like to end with. Creativity is for everybody, whether you see or you see like me, which is not in color and not so much, or you don't see at all. Creativity is for you, and whether it's knitting or crocheting or sewing or quilting or beading or sculpting or painting or weaving or carving or whatever it is that you do, today is a great day to craft and create. 8. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, happy stitching. Bye-bye for now. Okay, here's the sock. This is the Klamath Fall. Let me see if I can find the label back for you. Okay, so this is the label. It is the Hawthorne Fingering by Knit Picks and We Crochet. The color is Klamath. I'll turn it over. You can read all the details on it. If you like the yarn, that's what you're looking at. This is the color, because I can't really for sure describe all the different blues in there to you. Beyond that, it's like indigos and delft and all that. So this is where I started. I did it toe up, cast on from there. Then we got this little ribbing. I think it's called broken rib. I'll try to describe it more later on to you all. But I really like this particular rib pattern. Less purling, right? I described that in an earlier video. Less purling. You can rib with less purling. So, and here's what I do with my heel. This is what I'm talking about, how you make your angle, right? You got to make that turn. Just called why it's called turning the heel, right? You got to make your sock do that 90-degree turn. You got to make your little tube. So this is where I started my increases, where I started adding in stitches for the heel. Right? So I do my increases, we create the gusset, we create this little triangle here until I increased by 20 stitches total on the heel. So I had 28 on each needle. I increased till I got to 48 stitches on the back needle and kept maintained 28 on the front. And then I started my heel turn, and that's where I started it. Is right here. Let's see if I can hold this up for y'all. Okay, so this, hope you can see it. This is where I started my heel turn. I don't know, some people might like their heels just a little bit narrower than what I did. Started it right there, and then started the decreasing, right? Because you got to start taking, you put in 20 stitches extra to make that turn, and then you got to take out 20 stitches, right? One every row. So you stop working in rounds, you start working in rows, and you start working your decreases on each side. Look at that. There's my join where I rejoined in the round. Looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. I'm impressed with that. There's a little bit of a hole there, but not bad. Other side, I think, right? No heel gap really there. No substantial heel gap. I've just lost the other one. So sorry. I just lost the corner. There we go. Okay. So no substantial heel gap there either. Really, really pleased with that overall. So that's where I did my decreases. You can see that little line. I can feel it really well. You can see it well. That's the rib pattern that I did. Got purl bumps every other row. Love that. And then for those of you who are interested in seeing these discontinued colorways, this is the one called Canopy. I believe it's a bunch of greens. How pretty is that? And this is the deep waters. These are gorgeous. So let me know. But these are discontinued. This is all we have is 2 hanks each. Let me know what you would do with them. Alrighty, and thanks always for listening. Until next time, happy stitching. Bye-bye.